No one likes to be in the doghouse, okay? But hey, we've all been there. I've been there. You've been there. Even Kyle's been there. Well, guess what? There's some players that might be in Talkett's doghouse heading into the season. Who are those guys? We're going to tell you next here on Locked On Canucks.
You're Locked On Canucks, your daily podcast on the Vancouver Canucks. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome to another episode here of Locked On Canucks. My name is Trevor Beggs, Canucks writer and part-time credentialed media member for Daily Hive Vancouver. This episode is brought to you by Birddogs. Go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free white tech hat with any order. You won't want to take your bird dogs off. We promise ya. And before we dive into the show, we got to thank you for listening to Locked On Canucks. It's your team every day. Make sure you subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to those beautiful podcasts that you're listening to, like the one you're listening to right now. On today's episode, we got to talk about the people in the doghouse, and specifically for Rick Tocchet, okay? Some players maybe got a bit of the short end of the stick last season. So we're going to talk about people who are in Tocchet's doghouse, who are going to look to climb out of there, obviously. And then on the other side, we'll talk about some of Tocchet's buds, okay? Who did Tocchet really like that last season? But first and foremost, let me introduce someone who, I like him quite a lot. Kyle Bowen. What's going on, buddy?
Not much, man. Just another day at the office, at the workplace, at the dream. Let's be honest. Let's be real. I get to make things. So I'm super, super blessed, right? Right? Living the dream, dude. And I get to talk Canucks with the bud. One of the best buds, Trevor Beggs on the daily. Come on, man. We live in the dream. We also get to talk to the people as well. A lot of comments on the last episode. Man, oh, man. Some people got to watch the FIFA Women's World Cup, okay? More on that in 20 minutes. I'm just saying, yo. I'm just saying. I got ideas, man, for real. But this is a Canuck show, right? A Canuck show, and it's a Canuck show in August. And apparently, Tocchet already has some people in the doghouse, okay? In the doghouse. Hey, shout out to Chris Faber. So, yeah, who's in the doghouse? I'm curious to know what you've scribbled up here.
Yeah, so I came up with 4 players who are in Tocchet's doghouse. And, this is really just looking at kind of trends in their game in terms of ice time and all that stuff. I will say, I think there was more players that Tocchet liked compared to guys who are in the doghouse, but part of that is also we're doing this in August, and the Canucks have cleared house a bit, right? Like all of Ekman Larsson was kind of in Tocchet's doghouse, was seeing his minutes slashed. He gets injured, he's gone, right? So players like that are no longer on the team. So people who are in the doghouse, some of them aren't even here anymore. But I'm going to start, and it's 2 of the most prominent wingers on the Canucks are up here first and foremost, and it's Andrei Kuzmenko and Conor Garland. I think both guys, to an extent, were, let's say, quote unquote, in Tocchet's doghouse last season. And I'll start with Garland. So this surprised me, but when Garland played for Tocchet in Arizona, he was playing almost 18 minutes a night. And, part of that was the Arizona Coyotes team at the time, but part of that was Garland was a young player who had earned that opportunity. So I thought, with Garland being one of the few guys who actually played under Tocchet, he'd have, a bit of a longer leash, maybe a bit of an increased role. Instead, he was playing less than Phil DiGiuseppe, and he was playing on a line with Dakota Joshua and Nils Zaman. I mean, Kyle, I think we talked maybe a couple of months back, but were you surprised with how Garland was used under Tocchet?
I was a little surprised, and it was just based on, the brief knowledge I had of those two being together in the past. Again, just put those two together, didn't look at the microstats, didn't know how much Garland was playing, or didn't even look up any quotes about Tocchet and his, again, thoughts on Conor Garland. It was just, the connection, the Coyotes and Garland in the past. So that made me a little bit surprised to see how he was being used when Tocchet did come to Vancouver. That being said, Garland's got to earn it. He's got to earn it. I truly do believe he has another gear to him when it comes to being more consistent. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's one thing that Tocchet is going to really try to drive home. Like, you got to bring it every game. You got to bring it every every game. There's that saying, man, something about like how to like bring in a new habit into your life, and you got to make sure that you don't do the wrong thing 2 times in a row. So in this case, Garland can't have 2 bad games. It goes to Boeser as well. Boeser can't have 2 bad games in a row, and we've seen it with Kuzmenko as well. You can't have 2 straight games of playing bad defensively. I think Tocchet, ironically, with the doghouse, who's in the doghouse. I think the leash is going to be short when it comes to players who again have bad games. It's cool if it happens once in a while, but don't let it happen immediately again. Garland on the consistency front has to do that. He needs to be consistent game in and game out. I know seasons don't, they're not perfect. Garland is not the perfect player, but if you don't have it one game, make sure you have it the next. He's got to be accountable. So to answer your question, I am surprised, but Garland, I don't know if he really deserved, that much of a spotlight last year. Tockett's got to pick his guys and he's got to get a grip of the team. And yeah, he wasn't in a rush to play a lot of Conor Garland, and that's okay.
Yeah, and I think going back to that consistency point, there were definitely nights last season where Conor Garland kind of just looked like he was out there not doing much, right? And
Yeah,
I could count definitely a few games last season where I was at the game live, where it was like Pettersson and Kuzmenko were the only two noticeable Canucks, and Garland was one of those guys who was kind of blended in a bit more than he should. But we talked. You mentioned consistency, Kyle. And I think that was another reason why Kuzmenko ended up in Talker's doghouse a bit. And this is kind of like a spoiler alert for when we talk about Talkett's buds. But one of Talkett's biggest buds was Phil DiGiuseppe. It shocked me that Phil DiGiuseppe had more even strength ice time per game than Andre Kuzmenko under Rick Tocchet. Like, that's mind boggling. We're talking about a guy who almost had 40 goals, right? And Phil DiGiuseppe played more than him at even strength. It's hard to believe, man. But I think we saw that, right? With Kuzmenko, it was a bit of an easier ride under Boudreau when things were a bit tumultuous to say the least. But under Tocchet, Kuzmenko took a shift off, had a bad back check. Tocchet was stapling him to the bench, which I think for where the Canucks were last season, I think it was the right move, right? Because who cares? You got to teach this guy a lesson. The Canucks aren't going anywhere in the
exactly,
standings. So, I mean,
exactly.
but at the end of the day, we're talking about guys who are in Tocchet's doghouse, and Kuzmenko ended up there a few times last season. Kyle, you picked him as your surprise player for next year, so is it safe to say that Kuzmenko will stay out of Tocchet's doghouse from day one of camp here?
I hope so, and I think so. I mean, we've seen the footage, man. This guy's putting it out there. He's trying to get better, and it's not as if I've seen the Kuzmenko footage from the past. Maybe this is like typical Andre Kuzmenko. Like he does go hard in the summer, but I don't know. Based on some of the Tocchet quotes, there was some room to improve on like just being a little bit more fit, and getting really into what it takes to be a really, really good top end NHL player. And I think the fitness will get Kuzmenko there. And I think him getting some of that tough love like Garland did last year from Tocchet is a really good team, a really good thing. Sorry. And you got to do those things, right? Tocchet comes in with 40 games left. The season doesn't matter. You got to teach those lessons. And because he was looking to teach those lessons early on with core players that are going to be there in a couple months in September for a new season, I think it allowed him to just dive fully into experimenting with trying to get the most slash see what Phil DiGiuseppe was. It's a combination of a lot of things. Kuzmenko, Boeser, and Garland got that type of treatment from Tocchet.
Yeah, 100%. Kyle, I'm going to mention two other players here quickly who were in Talkett's doghouse at points, and really they're both younger guys who the leash was probably a bit shorter just because of where they are in the development. But I had Vasily Podkolzin and Jack Rathbone down. So with Podkolzin first and foremost, when he got recalled in February, he was averaging 14 to 50 minutes per game. That slowly slipped during the rest of his tenure up in Vancouver. He was often, playing alongside Kravtsov on a fourth line, or they had that short stint with Pettersson. But Podkolzin, I just don't think he seems like a Tocchet guy, but he just didn't really do enough to stand out under Tocchet last season. So I think you and I both
Mhm.
have big hopes for Vasily Podkolzin, but I think he's got to do a lot more to, become one of Tocchet's buds. I think he's a little bit closer to the doghouse territory than he is bud territory right now. And same
Yeah,
goes with
and
Jack Rathbone. Sorry, go ahead. You want to say something
no,
about
no, 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 no,
Podkolzin?
no, 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 no. I'll say it, but look, finish off your point on Rathbone. Come on, man.
Yeah. So with Rathbone, all I was going to say is, with the state of the Canucks roster last season, Bears injured, OEL is injured, guys getting traded like Shen. All these depth defensemen get called up, Wolanin, Breezewa, Hirose got a stint. Jack Rathbone was like, kind of last in the pecking order. Played 5 games. He was heavily sheltered in those minutes. Again, I don't see him as a Tocchet favorite. He's probably a bit more in Tocchet's doghouse. I think he's in the organizational doghouse, to be honest with you. The whole organization treated Jack Rathbone improperly last season. We'll put it that way. So again, I think Rathbone is more in doghouse territory. He's going to have a huge camp to make it to Bud territory and even just to be on this team.
Yeah, I just think that's impossible. And the thing with Podkolzin, as mentioned weeks ago, guy just needs to be confident. And I'm going to look at it on the other side of the spectrum. Maybe it's a good thing that Tocchet came in here and, he obviously didn't know a lot about Podkolzin, doing work for TNT, being away from the game. Like he wasn't watching Podkolzin highlights. It's not as if it was like the Phil DiGiuseppe thing. Like, oh, what do I want to see in this guy? Blah, blah, blah. But maybe it's a good thing that, again, that he came here and he showed tough love to Podkolzin, because he kind of knows that for this team to kind of move forward as an organization, they need one of their top picks to really get it together and be a true professional. And I'm going to bring up the word again, consistency. It's a big thing. It's a big thing. Be there no matter what. You had one bad game. You don't let that get in the way of the next game. And it ties back into confidence. It really does. But at the end of the day, you have to be accountable. You got a new NHL game to play. Don't dwell on your quote unquote bad play. Just keep at it. Keep at it and play hard. That's one thing about Phil DiGiuseppe, he doesn't have all those other intangibles, but he plays hard every shift. So if you don't have like the puck skills in one game, or you're not feeling confident offensively, I'm talking to guys like Garland, even Boeser, Podkolzin. Don't got to say that too much about Kuzmenko, but if you're feeling like that, you wake up in the morning and something feels a little off, I don't think that's an excuse to not have legs in the game. You know what I'm saying? You got to bring it. Tocchet's going to want you to bring it. It's just the truth. And we've seen, I know comparison is the thief of joy, but it's okay to compare the Canucks to other teams to kind of get a sense of where you want to be. And you see the way Vegas plays, man. Like, you need that tenacity, And for scrappy teams that are in cap hell, you need, everyone to buy in. And that, again, has to do a lot with being consistent and having your legs with you and playing hard every shift. And no matter what, I think Tocchet's going to expect that from a lot of these guys, game in and game out.
100%. And, if you want to have that tenacity, if you want to be feeling your best, you know what you got to do? You got to put on Birddogs, baby. Oh, yeah. Birddogs is back, sponsoring the show. Kyle, guess what? I got a couple more packages in the mail from Birddogs.
What?
I don't know if you got yours or not. You might be missing out, eh? Maybe I need to give you some of my stuff. But because I'm telling you right now, I'm living by myself at the house, okay? My wife and kids are gone. I cannot leave the house in my Birddogs gear. I'm going to get mauled by a cougar, if you know what I mean, okay? That's just the demographic neighborhood I live in. These Birddogs, I got a pair of pants and a pair of shorts. Not only are they, good looking, but there's khaki shorts and pants designed to fit slimmer through the thigh and leg, giving you a truly sculpted look. And guess what? I'm a sweaty guy. So that's why I love my Birddogs, because they use anti-stick sweat wicking fabric that keeps you cool and dry all day long. So make sure you go to birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or enter promo code LockedOnNHL for a free white tech hat with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnNHL or promo code LockedOnNHL for a free white tech hat. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise ya.
By the way, before we get back to the show, I got to remind you again that every episode of Locked On Canucks will be available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, your favorite podcatcher at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Again, every episode of Locked On Canucks at 4:20 p.m. for no reason at all. Let's get back to the show. Okay. We're back. Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Just took my first couple sips of coffee, okay? What time is it, 1 o'clock? I'm feeling much more awake. And I can't believe we went through segment number 1, talking only hockey in August, okay? There's a segue there. Beggsy, have you ever been in the doghouse? Actually, the easy answer is yes. I'm gonna switch it up. Recently, in the last year, you don't have to get too personal, but have you ever been in the doghouse at the home? And if you want to share, I want to know what you did, okay? Did you not take out the trash? Because when you get older, those little things matter. When when you have a wife taking care of the kids, doing everything right, and you forget to take out the trash, I can only imagine what type of trouble that would put you in. Okay, and rightfully so. Or have you been on a
Yeah, you
hot
know
streak?
what, man? Not to pump my own tires. I feel like when I get sent to the doghouse, it's usually pretty short term. Maybe I'm charming my way out of it. Um, what have I been sent to the? I think the main thing I might get sent to the doghouse for is, my wife says something, and not that I didn't listen, but maybe I didn't hear her. I'm getting a little hard of hearing. Okay, I'm 30 years old now. And then
Oh
she'll kind of like
man.
ask me something, and I'll be like, "You never told me that." She's like, "Yeah, I did tell you that. You just weren't listening." So maybe that's the main thing.
Oh,
I haven't
come on,
forgotten my
buddy.
kid at I haven't forgotten my kid at daycare, but I've left like some of her stuff, like her main toy she sleeps with. I've left at daycare, and I gotta
Oh,
like, I'm either gonna be in the doghouse all night long with a cranky toddler, or I gotta drive all the way back to my kid's daycare to grab a stuffy toy, man. So
yeah.
yeah, I guess it happens, man. Come on, we all end up in the doghouse, buddy.
Dude, man, right? They're barely happy, man, but they're happy all the time too. It's a complicated thing, man. For real, for real, for real. Okay, your team every day, Locked On Canucks. Kyle Bauman, Trevor Beggs. Remember to subscribe and hit the like button wherever you stream this podcast and on YouTube. Yeah, we just want to know, how we doing? Leave us a review. Leave us a review. Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Why not? Maybe we'll read it. Maybe we'll read it on the next segment in 6 minutes, right? Komment Korner. Anyways, more on that. And again, 6 minutes. Let's talk about Tochet's buds. And I feel as if like there's such easy answers here, for real. You got like Quinn Hughes, Pettersson, blah blah blah. I even feel as if JT Miller under Tochet did really well, and he's probably already a bud. Off the top though, hit me with a surprise. Hit me with a surprise, okay?
All right. Yeah, because I do have obviously the common ones and a couple surprises. I'll throw my biggest surprise at you, and that's Guillaume Brisebois. And this is the
Oh,
case for maybe Guillaume Brisebois making the Canucks out of camp, buddy. Now I don't think it's gonna happen, but let me throw this stat at you, okay? In terms of Canucks defensemen who averaged the most time per game on the penalty kill, it went Myers, Philip Hronek, who played 4 games, and Guillaume Brisebois. Those are your top 3 penalty killing Canucks defensemen in terms of average ice time per game. So when Brisebois plays, he's getting thrown into those tough penalty killing matchups. Okay. Again, I think his even strength effectiveness, it was better early on in the season, kind of dissipated and had some bad games towards the end. But Guillaume Brisebois obviously was a guy who was trusted enough to go out there and kill 2 minutes worth of penalties per game. And now that might be because the Canucks didn't have anybody else to do it, but at least Guillaume Brisebois was getting the nod to do it. It wasn't Christian Wolanin when he was in the lineup or something like that. It was Guillaume Brisebois.
man, oh man. You think I'm gonna carry on this conversation about Guillaume Brisebois for another couple of minutes, man? Yeah, we'll
No,
we'll
no,
see.
no,
We'll
no.
we'll we'll see what happens in training camp. It's the same with we've brought him up all episode. Shout out to Italy, yo. Shout out to Italy, and definitely like Italy by far and away has the best accent in the world, for real. And I wish I could say Phil DiGiuseppe's name the right way. I wish I could just speak Italian, to be honest, right? Just have the accent, just have the English Italian accent. That is, could you imagine this podcast with this tone of voice with an Italian English accent, just talking Canucks for 20 minutes? Unbelievable. Where was I going with this? Oh, yeah. We'll see how much of that love based on the minutes for guys like Breezeball, and Phil DiGiuseppe like if it's real or not going into training camp in like the first couple of preseason games. Was it out of necessity? Was it out of boredom? Was it out of curiosity? Or was it out of true belief? We'll see early on in training camp and again the preseason.
Yeah, we'll see. That was definitely my biggest surprise among Tockett's buds. I mean, yeah, like you mentioned, Petey Miller and Hughes. Tocchet played the wheels off all of them. They're obviously favorites. Philip Hronek, he made my favorites list because he averaged over 24 minutes a night with one arm. Dude, this guy was obviously a favorite, man. There was no easing Philip
Nice
Hronek into
showcase.
things. This guy was playing big. He was playing big minutes off the
I
hop.
can't believe they brought out Philip Hronek just to sell 40 more season tickets or 17 for real. No, 100%. That's why they did it. Let him play a couple
Oh
minutes,
man.
show a couple people who are in the crowd. Oh wow, this guy's actually not bad. He's calm, poised. He's the reason why the Canucks are going to be better. We're re-upping 4 grand, 5 grand. take my money. Section 320, row number 26. Okay, just take it because of Philip Hronek. That's the only reason they did it.
Row
You
number
you know it too, man.
26.
I don't
Jesus,
even
man.
know, man. I don't even know, man. Okay,
That's
Kyle Bound, Trevor
uh,
Beggs, Locked On Canucks. I do wanna kind of touch on Quinn Hughes just a bit though, because I think that he's
yep.
maybe Tockett's best bud on this team. Okay, yeah, okay, they got the American thing. They speak the same language, right? That's big. What? Why are you laughing? We always bring up
they
we
speak
always bring up
they
we
speak the
always
same
bring up
language.
Alvin. We always speak of Alvin drafting Swedish players, and we make those connections. I'm making the connection right now. They speak the same American accent, American English. It's different. It's different. They understand each other, and
All right.
Quinn Hughes is damn reliable in the room and on the rink. And I didn't know Quinn Hughes was that vocal, but Tockett's speaking as if this dude's like who like Tom Brady in there, as being that guy. Again, best buds with Rick Tocchet.
Yeah, I think you make a fair point because it's when you've talked to when they mentioned the captain thing when he was asked about it at the end of season media availability, it was kind of like he went on about Hughes and how he's become more of a leader and blah blah blah, and then he talks about how Pettersson kind of quiet, but he's talking more. Like it was very much his praise was much more muted with Pettersson than it was with Hughes. So I would probably agree with you. I think Hughes is probably Tockett's best bud, future captain of the
Yeah.
Vancouver Canucks too potentially.
Dude, listen to Tockett's interview with Halford and Bruff, and it was even more so apparent that again, Quinn Hughes is that guy in the room, and Tocchet really appreciates it. Jokes aside, the reason why they're going to be best buds is because he's going to be the bridge. Like Quinn Hughes is going to be the bridge. He's going to be the captain, man. Whether I agree with it or not, I think he's that damn good. I think he's 97 overall potential. He's going to be great. I'm just a big PD fan, but it's going to take some time for me to get used to Quinn being the guy. But I don't think it's going to take that much time because Quinn is that guy as well,
Yeah.
for real.
Yeah, 100%. He is Tockett's best bud. I mean, the only other bud that I didn't mention was Dakota Joshua. I think Joshua, again, saw his role elevated throughout the second half of last
Hmm.
season, ended up spending a chunk of time playing alongside Pettersson and Kuzmenko. Then again, this is probably the best quote I got out of a scrum, but when I asked talking about Joshua, he said that Joshua could score 20 goals in this league, which blew me away. I think that bar is probably a bit too high for Joshua, but he's clearly someone that's liked by Rick Tocchet at the end of the day. I think Rick Tocchet might love Dakota Joshua more than I love Yuko.
Wow, beautiful, man, beautiful, and that matters in the dressing room. There's got to be a lot of that colleague type of love for real, and appreciation and respect. And Dakota Joshua, 1 year left on the deal, and I'm kind of liking that. There's a lot to play for, and there seems to be a lot of trust, which means there's going to be a lot of opportunity for Dakota Joshua to want to exceed expectations again, and for a team that needs everything to go right. Again, been very, very optimistic, been very, very, very hopeful, want the best for the West Coast to best coast. I also do truly understand because I am a little rational, okay? I truly do understand that everything has to be going right and correct. And a lot of players have to exceed their value for, again, us to get the bare minimum of hope and success in the city because we have a long way to climb. The Canucks, for a decade plus, do the math, one of the worst teams in the league. Last year, one of the worst teams in the league. And I'm out here talking like October and November are going to be full of like craze and enjoyment. And we're going to make the immediate flip when it's like, dude, you guys got Carson Soucy, Ian Cole, and Teddy Bluger.
Woohoo! Oh man, well, it's a long way to the top if you want to rock and roll. And Kyle, I know when the Canucks start rocking and rolling, you and I will be there, and the commenters will be there with us. Even though the Canucks aren't even rock and roll right now, we still have the commenters. So let's get to the commenters on the other side here on Locked On Canucks.
Okay. We back here on Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Scratch that. Your Canucks every day. Scratch that. Your Canucks every once in a while in the summer, okay? 3 days a week, no matter what. The schedule is unknown, but we'll give you 3 days of Begsy and Bowen. And every now and then I'll sprinkle in an episode of Komment Korner as well. Yes, an entire episode a Komment Korner. We did give you one a couple days ago, so go check that out. Before we get to Komment Korner today, yo, Begsy, you didn't ask me if I've ever been in the doghouse.
I wanted to
Come on,
ask you, and
man.
then the
You're not you're
conversation
not
kind
you're
of went
not
the
the
other
only you're
way.
not
Yeah.
the only one in love,
No, no,
okay?
no, no, no.
Selfish
Okay,
guy.
let's hear about your doghouse story. When was the last time you got
Dude,
thrown in the doghouse?
dude. Okay, so the last time, oh man, it was bad, bro. It was bad, and it's too personal. I can't really bring up the details. But no, seriously, because it's too personal, okay? For real. But I do get thrown in the doghouse for like you said, 1 or 2 minutes every now and then. It does have to do with listening, but also like not giving massages,
Hmm.
apparently, like,
Or or you say you're gonna give one and then
no,
you
no, no,
forget
no, no,
to.
no. You
Oh,
know
I've done
how
that.
okay, so my girl, she's injury prone, like injury prone, like the type of person that gets out of bed and something is sore, And apparently she's been telling me about this for months and months and months and months and months and months, and I've never, given her a massage or, you know, like catered towards her physical needs in that department. But it's like, dude, I'm not a kinesiologist. I dropped out of kinesiology, okay? No, and I failed biology. You don't want me to put my hands on you in that way, for medical reasons. You know what I'm saying, bro? Come on, man. It's just the
Hmm.
truth, man. So maybe I have to be more nurturing, but every once in a while, when I ignore the request for some sort of comfort physically, I get I get told that I'm not a good listener, and I'm just I don't know, just dude, life's busy, man. Locked On Canucks, your team every day, like girl. eh, I'm a hockey podcaster every day. You think I got time to massage you and touch you? Unbelievable,
That's what
man.
all
Fan
you gotta do
first.
is, all you gotta do is baby, baby, baby. Let's lie down. Let's chill. Let's get the candles on. And let's listen to me talk to Trevor on Locked On Canucks, baby. Then she'll be in the
Oh
mood.
man.
Be all
The
good.
ambiance, man, the ambiance. Yo, put the candles on for me, baby. Come on, man. Anyways,
Baby,
okay, Locked
I just
On
want to put
Canucks.
I just want to put on the candles and listen to myself talk. Okay. Shh, 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 shh.
Oh man, oh man. Could you imagine this voice right here, dirty talking? Because it
I
happens.
can.
It
100%.
happens, okay? It happens. Anyways, Locked On Canucks, your team every day. Trevor Banks, Kyle Bowen. I'm a dog. I'm a dog. They used to call me Canine Bowen. They used to call me Canine Bowen back in the day. All right. Anyways, though, enough about me. Let's get to the people and let's get to the favorite segment on the program, Komment Korner.
Welcome to Comment Corner, powered by Paraphrasing.
This comment comes from a great father.
Hey brothers, I'm probably alone on this rocket ship, but fighting in hockey just looks silly. Punches rarely land, you can break your hand on a helmet, laugh out loud, they are just lame, and I'll say it again, silly.
Okay. Shout out to the comment. And this one really got me thinking because when I read that comment, the way it was originally written, I started visualizing like young children, young boys just being brats and annoyed and angry and just like fighting. You know what I'm saying? Like a silly fight. The word silly really stood out in the comment. And for a minute there, I really thought that, yeah, like this is actually more silly than it is cool, or entertaining or athletic or whatever fighting is, because these guys are on skates, they still got the helmets on, and they're missing a lot of punches. And you know what I'm saying? Did it make you think of fighting any differently?
It was an interesting perspective because I do think a lot of fights have gone that way because you don't really have designated fighters anymore, right? So often it's two
Mhm.
guys in the heat of the moment and they just chuck the gloves off and they start wrestling. So yeah, sometimes it can look a little silly, but at the end of the day, Kyle, to your point on yesterday's episode, by the way, if you haven't checked out yesterday's episode, make sure you go check it out. That episode was a good one. Okay, we talked about the MLS, talked about the NHL, little Lionel Messi, and we talked about all things JT Miller, Kyle's favorite player. Okay, but yeah, you know what? Guys like JT Miller, Tanner Pearson, they're not known fighters, but they will fight. And sometimes it can look silly. But at the end of the
Mm,
day, Kyle, again, to the point you made on that episode, I think it's just a unique selling point for hockey. Like the fact that guys are fighting on skates. And fighting on skates is hard to do. And I think even a casual fan can understand that fighting on skates is hard to do. And obviously, with the risk of concussions and stuff, guys can't really take off their helmets like they used to as well. So I
mhm.
think it's still something you can sell. But yeah, I think it comes with the caveat that sometimes the fight's not going to be clean, right? Not every fight is highlight worthy.
And, more often than not, especially in upcoming history, because of the fact that less of these players are probably taking like boxing lessons to become NHL fighters. You know what I'm saying? It's maybe not as taken as serious. You are going to get scruffles and fights that don't equate to a lot of landed punches and whatnot. But at the end of the day, it's still a brouhaha. It's like it's sad, bro. It's because you know how like you're outside, like I'm not the person, okay? So you're outside and you see a scrap like downtown or something like that, and there's a lot of people pulling out their phones or whatever, right? And I'm just like, yo, this is actually kind of fucked. Oh, I'll bleep that out. This is kind of too intense because if one of these people land on their heads, like it's just like concrete. We're not professionals here. Something can happen. And I feel like the NHL fight now with the helmets having to be on, and there's just something there that's like we can kind of get that thrill from it still. And at the end of the day, it's beyond it just being a selling point or something entertaining. It's still a part of the game. Like we don't understand that. You and I do not understand that. Media members who have never played the game, we don't understand that because it is separate. There is a layer that we cannot cross. Only hockey players, hockey coaches, those people, NHL teams, NHL players can be there. And whether we like it or not, it's still a part of the game. It's pretty evident. And I think it'll always be a part of the game. I don't know how I was going to segue out of this to some FIFA Women's World Cup. I don't know. Someone was making comments about like figure skating and like, oh, if you don't like fights, go watch women's soccer or something. I don't know if I'm like not saying the right things, but I'm pretty sure I saw that in the live chat. And I just want to say, man, based on what I've seen off TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and the times I've watched the FIFA Women's World Cup this summer, bruh, and it's pretty evident that it's not no fluke because every time this tournament runs around, the world is watching.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Every time
Yeah.
every time, and for it seems like this is like 10 to 20 years worth of tournaments that the world is watching. Yo, these athletes are top notch entertainers, and it really made me think. And maybe if this would happen, a lot of people would lose jobs because there's a lot of pro women's leagues around there, and probably a small slash any sort of income for these athletes who play in these pro leagues. But I feel as if the game could really grow and really be a part of the sporting culture and maybe be one of the first women's sports to really be a part of it based on the athleticism and the entertainment that best on best soccer gives you in the women's department is if again they scrap all the other leagues and they just have best on best for like 100 games a year. And you're not just waiting for the Women's World Cup or the Olympics to see best on best women play against each other. I know there's probably minor tournaments in between, but I'm talking about a league that is just best on best international teams going at it throughout a whole year in women's soccer. And I think it could actually work.
That'd be cool as hell. It'd be a lot of traveling would be the
Dude.
main thing, but that's kind of why they have
Yeah.
like the CONCACAF and everything set up the way it is. I mean, we love our commenters, but also like no misogyny. Okay, we don't need that stuff. There's lots of entertainment in figure skating. There's lots of entertainment in Women's World Cup soccer.
Dude, and men figure skate
I
too,
was
man. And jacked men figure skate, okay? For real. Come on, man.
100%.
I figure skate.
I wish.
I wish I could figure skate. You know how much better that would
Mm.
make me in bed? Locked on
Maybe we
Canucks,
should
your
drop
team every day.
our push-up competition and just do some yoga instead. But hey, whether it's push-ups or yoga, we got to get the heck out of here, man. We're overtime. I know the boss is, he's texting us. He's calling us right now. He's like, what do you guys do? We said 30 minutes and under, so we got to get out of here, okay? Shout out to the everydayers, the occasional listeners. And if this is your first time listening, welcome to the program. We love you as well. Coming up, we got a couple crossover episodes lined up. I'm talking to Locked On Sharks, Locked On Flames this week. I know if we think you guys are gonna like it, we'll post it to the feed. Also want to talk about Kuzmenko. Can he succeed without Pettersson? And more coming up, of course. We're gonna fill out the slots here in August. Keep you entertained. But for now, I'm Trevor Banks. That guy's Kyle Bowen, and you've been listening to Locked On Canucks.